It's 9 o'clock in the morning. It is the 18th day of April 2022. It is 58 degrees and sunny here in Site B, and I am the OG GM, your tabletop role-playing guide to all the news, weather, sports, and general internet nonsense as it affects our wonderful hobby. And the last 2 weeks or so, the number one story that at least I'm seeing is this D&D Beyond and Hasbro merger thing, and a small dwindling population of people who claim they're 5th edition fans continuing to try and milk the 5e versus everyone fire that has been going around since 2014, and pretty much is a dead topic, except we have these few YouTubers who feel the need to continuing it in order to, I guess, milk hate clicks. I mean, I'm no stranger to milking hate clicks, so I guess whatever. We're going to address that. All right, so let's talk about this D&D Beyond thing. Hi, I'm the OG GM. I want to talk about D&D. Specifically, I want to talk about 5th edition D&D. Specifically, I want to talk about D&D Beyond. Hasbro purchased D&D Beyond, and now all the D&D stuff that Hasbro Wizards of the Coast has access to will eventually maybe be on D&D Beyond, or it won't. First, I'm going to take a educated guess that there are probably some people out there that didn't know that D&D Beyond was a separate entity from Hasbro and pretty much just assumed that they were already in charge of it. I mean, it is called D&D Beyond. I gotta admit, there was a point in time when I thought they were run by the same people, but then turns out they weren't. But now they are. Great, congratulations! I don't see anything bad about this. It's gonna force Hasbro to improve the D&D Beyond technology. It's gonna force the other virtual tabletoppers to step up and compete. It's gonna be great if you're a D&D5E player in 2022, because most of that stuff you've been using for a while, so it's something you're familiar with, and a lot of you are using your phones and digital thingies at the table anyways, and have been for a while now. So here's the mystery. You would think 5th edition players who are playing 5e now would be perfectly happy with this. On paper, there is absolutely no problem with Hasbro paying 100 and whatever it was million to purchase this and allow digital aspect of the Hasbro conglomerate to now have control over that. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Allergies, I'm not sick. Personal feelings aside, and plus, I'm a Hasbro stockholder, and my Hasbro stock went up when this was announced. So, yeah, where is the bad? What is wrong with this? And yet, there are people complaining about it and people finding fault in it, which is, okay, fine, whatever. People are going to find fault in anything that happens, and the internet is a perfect place to find fault in things because that's what we do on the internet. Strange. The thing is that the people who have found fault with this are people who claim they are 5e players and 5e fans. And as you read these things that these people are saying, and you look at the things they're saying, you realize that, 1, you don't have any idea what you're talking about, dude. 2, you didn't actually read the information. 3, based upon the words that are coming out of your mouth, I find it hard to believe you're actually a 5th edition fan. Because lately it seems the people who are bagging on 5e, and especially Wizards of the Coast, and especially this purchase, are people who claim they're 5e fans. So let's look at this week's nonsense. Some of the posts that I have seen. First, of course, that D&D Beyond being purchased by Hasbro. Hasbro bought D&D Beyond. Is problematic, and that it's going to suppress table play. Okay? 2, Hasbro gave D&D Beyond to Wizards of the Coast as a sweet gift. Okay, That one bothers me because that one seems to make people think that they're two separate entities. Okay, and that they spent a lot of money, and the amount of money that they spent is problematic. 146 million or 140 million is the best guess. All right, so one, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro did not buy Digital Beyond and then give it to Wizards of the Coast as a gift. Hasbro bought D&D Beyond to control that IP, the digital aspect of Hasbro, of which Wizards of the Coast is part of, and run by somebody who is a former video game Microsoft person, is going to be responsible for maintaining that, but they're not two separate entities, and they never will be. Hasbro buying D&D Beyond is problematic, and 146 million is too much money. 146 million is too much money. These are the same people who were just a few days ago saying, look how much money Hasbro made. Look how much money D&D made. They made like what, $8 billion, $12 billion, and they were all like, oh, ha, ha, look how much money we made. Screw you. Other games, screw you. Ha ha ha. But now they're saying, how dare you spend 146 million on this product for D&D Beyond and 5th edition. How dare you support 5th edition by spending 146 million. Now, you do understand that $1 million is smaller than $1 billion, no matter which math you're using, whether it's USA math or international math or base 10 math or base 12 math. I don't know what math you're using where $1 million is more than $1 billion. I think it is generally assumed by everybody who understands math, and I admit it, there's not a lot of us who do. Billion larger than million. So 140 million is only a small percentage of 1 billion, and 1 billion is only a small number to a company that supposedly made somewhere between 8 and 12 billion. So why is 146 million a problem, considering how much money Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro, who owns Wizards of the Coast, is going to make in the long run? There is nothing wrong with this. Roll20 and the other virtual tabletoppers should be afraid because D&D Beyond was purchased by Hasbro. No, they should not. There is absolutely no reason that they are in any trouble whatsoever. If anything, this is good for them. This forces Hasbro to increase and improve the technology of D&D Beyond, because let's face it, D&D Beyond was chunky and problematic. This forces the Foundry and Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 and all the other virtual tabletoppers to step up their game. If anything, this takes pressure off of them, because now it allows them to truly embrace and support other games besides Dungeons and Dragons. And if we look at the pie chart, the end of Q1, the beginning of Q2 pie chart for the amount of games being supported on virtual tabletop, yes, the largest chunk is D&D5E, but the percentage of games being supported on virtual tabletops throughout the world that are 5E decreased between this time this year and this time last year. So there are more games being played this year than there were last year that aren't 5E. The 5E chunk has gone down. Okay. Number 2, sorry, still Call of Cthulhu. Number 3 was some Brazilian game I'd never heard of. And Aliens. So yes, this is not problematic. Now let's add to that the fact that the company that's doing the other ones, one of the main companies is doing the other ones, Dream, whatever it's called. I talked about this a few minutes ago on the regular vlog. Marvel is backing a virtual tabletop that isn't D&D Beyond. Marvel. Now you know who owns Marvel, right? Disney. So we have 2 of the largest multi-billion-dollar companies on the planet. Marvel is backing another virtual tabletop that isn't D&D Beyond. Now, if I'm going to back a horse in this race, I'm going to back Marvel / Disney. If Marvel / Disney money is put into a virtual tabletopper, it's going to kick Hasbro to the curb. Because I'm pretty sure there are more people out there who know what Marvel is than there are what D&D is. And if I say, do you know who Vecna is? People are going to look at me and go, the new villain on Stranger Things Season 4? Guy who makes socks? I don't know. If I look at people and go, do you know who Spider-Man is? There's not a single person who's going to go, no. So, no. This is not a problem for Roll20 and fantasy games. This is nothing but good news for everybody involved. They do not need to be afraid. If anything, they should be cheering. They still get to support 5e. They don't have all the pressure on them. 5e, they can start supporting other companies. They can start investing the technology that they're investing to support the 5e stuff, to support other stuff. Because I've played Roll20 and it's pretty clunky. So yes. And now, finally, Dungeons and Dragons is king. So Professor Dungeon Master, who, has joined the ranks of the Let's Bag on 5e, let's bag on anybody who doesn't play 5e. Professor Dungeon Master, who has joined the ranks of that crowd, posted a 6 reasons why 5e is the king of the RPG jungle. So this is another attempt by somebody to continue this fight between 5e and every other game. There'd be people like Professor Dungeon Master, Jeannie D, J. Scott Garraby, Mark Holmes. There's all these people out there that are still milking this because they can't come up with an original idea. So when they can't come up with something new and unique to talk about, they talk about how OSR bad, 5e good, any other game that isn't 5e bad. If you're not playing 5e, you're a bad perfect. 5e is the best role-playing game ever. Why is 5e so popular right now? Because it's the best version of D&D? Because it's the best game ever? No. Because of Stranger Things and Critical Role. That is the only reason 5e is in the public face and as popular as it is. And that popularity, I'm sorry, is going down. It's definitely not as in your face as it was this time last year. And that's going to continue to get smaller because after a while, people just don't care. Oh, look, another season of Stranger Things, and they're basing stuff off of Dungeons and Dragons from the 80s. Well, then shouldn't I be playing the 80s version of Dungeons and Dragons that they're playing on Stranger Things? Because they're not playing 5th edition on Stranger Things. So, yeah, King of the Jungle. King of the Jungle media-wise in America, yes, more people know what D&D is in America than any other role-playing game. Does that make it King of the Jungle as far as role-playing games? No. Is 5e a system that is near perfect? No, absolutely not. So in response to this continued attempt of people like Jeannie D and Solomon and Garraby and Professor Dungeon Master and all these other people who have nothing else to talk about, so they continue to just recycle this 5e good, every other game bad. And, this stuff used to upset me, but now it's just stupid. And you're not doing 5th edition anything good by saying stuff like this. All you're doing is making 5th edition look like a bully, making you look like just somebody who, is milking a dead horse. And just, I don't know, it's just stupid to continue doing this. Come up with something new. Stop trying to milk this fight. Now, if I have to get defensive and defend the entire universe against 5th edition, sure. Okay, let's just look at the facts. You are aware that there were games before 5th edition that Wizards of the Coast made, right? So there was Dungeons and Dragons existed before 5e, right? You do know that, right? The game is 48 years old. There are at least 10 to 21 versions of Dungeons and Dragons. 5th edition has only been around since 2014. The game is almost 50 years old, which means the game existed before 5th edition. So not only are you bagging on every other game when you say shit like this, you're bagging on D&D when you say shit like this. And I don't know if you people realize this. No, so you're just not also saying, 5th edition is better than every other game ever made. You're saying 5th edition is better than the previous versions of the game I supposedly love. Did you not play the previous games? Do you really think that this is the best version? Do you really think every other version of D&D before 5th edition was just crap? The 40 years of history is just bullshit? Even Crawford has told you guys to stop. Crawford literally said, think for yourselves. Stop it. We're tired of it. Get over it. Okay? It's been 7 years. 7 years. 8 years. Stop it. Just let it go. Okay? But if that, okay, so let's move on. You are aware there are other games besides 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, right? Call of Cthulhu is the number 2 role-playing game in the world. If once you get out of the United States and get to like Europe and Asia, D&D isn't even really number 1. D&D is usually number 2 and other games are number 1. Call of Cthulhu kicks ass in the rest of the world. It's only here in the United States that D&D holds the very small margin of being ahead of everybody else. Now, there are, just guesstimating, the entire population of the planet, which is somewhere around 9 billion people at this point in time. We have 50 years of history. We know other games exist besides 5th edition. You cannot deny that other games exist. We know that people have played other games besides 5th edition in the past 50 years. So we have an infinite amount of games. We have an infinite amount of people who have played an infinite amount of games. Of that infinite amount, a small percentage is D&D. The rest of it are other games from day one till now. So you cannot say it's King of the Jungle because that's just saying nothing else matters, which is just stupid. No other game matters. Nothing that anybody else has done in the hobby matters. It's 5e or nothing. That has been proven wrong repeatedly by people far smarter than myself. And at this point, it's just a stupid sentiment to keep milking. Stop it. Now, if you want to get into fighting words, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, fine. Please remind me again how many awards 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons won in 2021 and how many awards it's nominated for in 2022. Best art, best cartography, best writing, best game, best supplement, game of the year. Okay, just remind me again, how many awards in 2021, how many Gamma awards, how many Ennie awards, how many Nebula awards, how many awards from anybody who does, best of type shit did 5e win in 2021? Remind me again? I'll give you a sec. The answer is pretty simple. It's none. None. 5e did not win a single award from anybody in 2021. Remind me again how many awards Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is nominated for in 2022 as we go into convention season. How many Nebula awards, best writing awards is D&D 5th edition nominated for in 2022? What is the most anticipated role-playing game of 2022? Remind me again? Okay, well, I'll give you a hint. The number is 0. As of today, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is not nominated for any awards. The Nebula Awards are up. There are nominations for Best Game for the Nebula Awards, recognized by the world as some of the best writing in the science fiction fantasy genre. Nebula Award-winning writing games, none of them are 5th edition. Most anticipated role-playing game for 2022? Not 5th edition. Number 1 Kickstarter so far for a tabletop role-playing game at $9.6 million? Not 5th edition. So really 5th edition, other than the fact that you were number 1 in the face of people for a while because of Stranger Things and Critical Role, you're not king of the jungle anymore. You're maybe king of a small yard that is the United States. And at this point, it's only a small percentage of the United States that are still going 5e. All right? Even 5th edition players are going, stop it. Jeremy Crawford told you to stop it. So Professor Dungeon Master, J. Scott Garrity, Jeannie D, all these other people who are continuing to try and still milk this OSR versus 5e / if you don't play 5e, you're somehow a bad person bullshit. I can't believe Garrity is still milking this after all the shit he went through last year. You know, that J. Scott Garrity is a topic for a separate vlog. You know, it's really hard not to just dislike that guy but you know, you got to respect these people for trying to get heat, right? From a purely, this is what's going to get my channel noticed. I mean, you know, this one from Professor Dungeon Master has got 2.5K views of him basically bagging on every game that isn't 5e. So yeah, sure. From a purely algorithm point of view, I get it. This is what works. This is what gets your channel recognized. This is what gets you heat. Hate clicks are still clicks. I'm looking at this video, which means you got a click from me, right, Professor Dungeon Master? So you still win as far as the algorithm is concerned, but you just make yourself look bad at this point, you know? The fight's over. There is no more fight. The OSR versus 5e thing is done. Okay? Let it go. Move on. Find something else to talk about. Stop trying to pick on people who don't play 5th edition. Stop trying to make 5th edition sound like something it's not. Stop trying to make people feel bad because they play another game or they like something that isn't 5th edition. You know, there are other games. There are people playing other games. And as far as the industry is concerned, as far as what really matters, we're not talking about the media, we're talking about the actual industry. 5e is sort of like just, whatever. I'll make 5e product because it'll make me money, but, you know, look how many awards it was nominated for and won in 2021. None. Tabletop Role-Playing Game of the Year 2021, not a 5e product. Not even a D20 product. It was Alice is Missing. Alice is Missing was the tabletop role-playing game year of 2021. And Mork Borg. Not you. 5e. So just stop it. I don't understand this need to keep picking this fight that doesn't exist anymore. And what I really don't understand is these people like, you know, who Garrity and Jeannie D, who are out there saying that for some reason this acquisition of Hasbro purchasing D&D Beyond is a bad thing. If you're really a fan of 5th edition, you should not be bagging on Hasbro or D&D Beyond. You should be clapping your hands going, this is the greatest thing ever that Hasbro has done to support D&D Beyond, to support 5e. It gives them more control over the IP. It makes 5th edition crap accessible to other people. So I don't know why this is a thing. I don't know why this is news. I don't know why people continue to feel the need to pick this fight when the facts are against you. I mean, you know, if you're going to throw 5th edition in the ring against every other game ever made ever and every other person in the planet who's playing another game besides 5th edition, at least come up with an argument better than, my game's better than your game. My game's king of the jungle. No, it's not, because all I have to do in response to that is go, yeah, remind me again how many awards you won last year? Oh, yeah, it was none. Anyways, I'm sure this will come up again. If you appreciate the words that are coming out of my mouth, let me know. If you think I should move on and stop bringing this up, you're probably right, but it's kind of fun. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. As always, support your friendly local game store and get off my land.